Hello, welcome to Art 13131, and we are in week 6 now. This is also the week the midterm presentation is due, so I announced it last week, and actually the week before started announcing it. Talked about it a lot last week in one video, sent an email about it as well, so you should know about the midterm presentation. I'll go ahead and reiterate now. Midterm presentation is either a PowerPoint or Google Slides or maybe a video you make narrating and showing yourself, like a YouTube video like I make here if you know how to do it. It doesn't have to be that. It could be PowerPoint or Google Slides or something like that, where you have slides and you have text and you have images, and I can scroll down and see your presentation. There's also a way to narrate, I believe, on a PowerPoint or Google Slides too. So you could narrate rather than writing a lot of text. But nonetheless, the midterm presentation is at least 5-minute long presentation. It can be longer, it could be 5 minutes or longer. But let's not make it 20 minutes, you don't probably need that much time. 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, something like that, but at least 5 minutes, okay? And you're presenting on either an artist or an art style or movement. Art movements, there were several. You can Google what they were. You can research what art movements there were and what you might like, and maybe you want to present on an art movement. Otherwise, an art style or technique could be anything, how to make that particular artwork, whether it be painting, drawing, sculpture, found objects, maybe many different things. It could be cake art or jewelry art, makeup art, costume art, tattoo art, performance art. Okay, so something in art that you're going to present on, and you're going to talk about it. You're going to basically line it up like a very concise essay, short essay, where you have a introduction, a body of knowledge, and then a conclusion, and you wrap it up. But you need to provide 5 or more images that relate to your subject. So if it's an artist, you're going to show their work. If it's a technique or style, you're going to show what that is. If it's an art movement, you're going to give examples of that art movement in artwork. So 5 or more images you're going to include into your presentation. And most importantly, your own artwork. So one piece that you create this term, so it's a recent artwork, one piece that relates to your subject in some way or another. That's your own artwork. Drawing or painting, if you're good at painting, go ahead and do it. If you want to use another media, then fine. It's kind of open with that. Whatever media you can use to get your own artwork that relates to your subject that you're presenting on. That's what you need to do. Now, if it's something outside of this class that you do artistically or creatively, then include that as your work and show what that is. And it may be a video of something that you do, that you're presenting on, and now you're going to show your own artistic creation of that. Okay? So don't forget that part. That's very important. All this is due basically by this coming Wednesday. And I've given you, since last week, a week and a half to accomplish this. Okay? So by Wednesday, I'd like to see them uploaded into the assignment option upload for midterm presentation. And that would be, I think it was last week, week 5, that is available as an option to upload your work on Canvas via your video, your PowerPoint or Google Slides, or however you want to produce it, and do that. So if you have any questions, let me know. Email me, and we'll talk about it. Okay? If you're having difficulty uploading any of this, then let's talk there too. Because the other option, I guess, is to send it to me in an email in an attachment if it won't work on Canvas, but I think it will. Okay? So let me know. Let's communicate. Keep in communication with me. All right, so that's due by this coming Wednesday. All right, let's talk about the one assignment for the beginning of the week, number 14, full face portrait from an image. So you're not working from imagination, you're working from an image. Okay, here are some ideas of images. Now, you can take a photograph of yourself or someone else, full face, which is the front view of your face. It's not a side view and it's not a 3/4 view like this one. This is a 3/4 because the face is slightly tilted to one side or the other. Anytime the face is not directly facing you, like this one, that's 3/4. That one, 3/4. This one, 3/4. I would consider maybe this is slightly on a 3/4, but mostly full face. So, you know, it can have a slight tilt, but not much. Okay. And if you do draw one in a 3/4, you can use it for the 3/4 portrait that we're going to do later in a couple of weeks. So, if you mess up and do a 3/4, we can use it later. But you'll still have to do the full face. So anyway, this is full-faced portraits, drawings that looking straight at you. Of course, we're going to shade all the skin. All the skin has a tone, at least a slight tone. No skin is white as paper. Now, the white as paper areas could be the highlights on the face, like the tip of the nose, the cheeks, the chin, the forehead, things like that. Those could be white as paper. And the reflection mark on the eyes could be white as paper. None of the other is going to be white as paper, including the white of the eyes are not exactly white as paper. They have a tone, and there's a slight tone in the corners of the eyes as well. So you want to look for that. If the eyes are totally white, it looks freaky. So look, see these eyes here, and I mentioned this in the Draw Your Own Eyes assignment. I showed examples of it. So when you're doing eyes, don't draw the white part of the eye completely white everywhere, because it does have darker areas going into the corners. A little bit of shading tone gradually appears as it goes into the corners of the eye. All right. Now, another thing to notice, and we'll look at this one real quick, that the eyes are typically in the middle of the head. There's a lot of forehead in top of the head that you may not realize. So really look for it. In fact, if you want to measure with your pencil from eyes up to the top and eyes down to the chin, it's roughly the same distance. Now, it could be that there's a slight shorter area up here, or the hair isn't puffed up as much, and it may seem a little shorter, so okay, we'll work with that. But typically, in the middle of the head, the eyes have a eye space in between each other. So whatever this length of an eye here is, in this one here, there's a length of an eye in the middle. And you'll see that in your model, because you're not working from imagination. You're not going to make an anime or cartoon. You're going to make realism that you're actually looking at an image, whether it be a really good drawing or a photograph of someone, and you're going to draw from that. You'll see that there is a space in the middle between the two eyes that is roughly the same size as an eye distance, an eye space. And on the side of the head, there's roughly that same distance before you hit the ear, and the side of the head and the ear. So basically, there's like 5 spaces, eye spaces, as you go across the head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 for the eyes, one for the middle in space in the middle, and 2 for the outside. That's roughly how you want to map this out. Also, you want to notice the ears. The top of the ear is about where the brow is. So in between the eye and the top and the eyebrow, there's what we call a brow. That's where the top of the ear appears. And it goes down to basically the bottom of the nose. It might be a little longer where it's just past that, but not by much. So don't make them way up here, and don't make them way low down here. So look at this template. You might have to go back to it. You can go to Bing or Google and you'll find one. And look at it. And notice where the eyes are, where the ears start, how far they go down. And then also how the mouth is placed. Typically, it's a little above the middle between the nose and the chin. So there's a little bit more room or distance between the bottom lip and the chin than the top lip and the bottom of the nose. Just a little, okay? So it's not quite the same as one right in the middle. It's not. It's a little higher than that. Okay, so that's kind of the placement. The shape of the head is kind of like an egg shape with the jaws coming kind of out a little further. So you have a big round, consistent round top that kind of tapers into the chin. It's kind of an egg shape, okay? This even shows a little more of an egg shape to that. That's how you can get started. I'm going to provide a video, so watch that too. There's different ways to map this out. Some start with a big circle in the middle for the head, and then they drag down this sort of jaw area. You can do it that way, or you can just go for an egg shape. Okay? With a little bit of the jaws pooching out. Now you'll see on your image how that works. Is it a little more poochy out here where the jaw and the cheeks are, or does it slender down more? Because this is all muscle and skin here that's making that shape. Mostly at the top, this is your skull because the skin is tightly wrapped around the skull there. Well, down here, the face takes different shape depending on the muscle structure and the skin. Okay, so that's why it's a little different down there. All right, so watch the video on that. It'll help you as well. Look at your template. That'll help you as well. Look at your model and compare. Go back and forth and get the right proportions and right settings. Now, something else you want to notice about eyes, and I mentioned this before, is the top part of the iris is covered up by the eyelid more than the bottom is. Typically, the bottom iris just sort of touches the eye, or it can be slightly above it depending on how you're looking. But definitely the top iris is covered up, maybe possibly a quarter of it or something is about covered up by the top eyelid. So that's how big you're going to make that iris. Don't make them really super small, and don't make them huge. Kind of measure out how much white space do I have compared to iris. Iris is the colored part of the eye. Okay? And there's stuff going on in that iris too. There's a lot of light and darks getting the muscle structure going. And some people have very, very dark eyes. Okay, so if you see nothing but dark, then okay, draw it, shade it in. But I think I pretty much guarantee that the pupil will be a little darker than your whatever color eye you have. It'll be a little darker, okay? Other things to notice is the shading. So there's shading around the nose, the bridge of the nose. They're not lines. There's no lines around the face bordering the nose or the mouth. Now the eye, there may be a very thin line for the eyelids, but make them more of a shading line, which is a little more bold. There's certainly no line going down the side of the nose and around the nostril. Those are shading areas that gradually change from light on the cheek to a little darker on the side of the nose where the bridge is, and then lighter in the middle, and then coming around to the other side again it gets darker, and then on the cheek it gets lighter. It depends how the light is hitting on that skin. If it's hitting directly on it, it's lighter. If it's not hitting directly on it, there's a shadow area. And that's the same with the brow too. Right in here, right in there. Okay. Don't make lines, because I'm going to say, hey, erase those lines out on the side of the nose and the side of the nostrils, because they're really not there. There's a shading area right there that meets the nostril, and that defines the edge. One shade meets another shade without a line, and that defines the edge. Okay? There's no line going down the side of the face and around the jaw. That's the shading that meets the other shading. So that shade on the face meets the next shade in the side of the face under the hair here, meets the hair over here, that shade meets that shade, and that's what's defining the border, not a line. There's no line on your face, I swear. There's no line drawn on your face, or around your lips, or around your nose. Okay? So don't draw a line there. Use shading only. And I'm going to say that when you send it to me and there's lines. So I'm going to write back and say, erase out those lines because they're really not there. Show me your image. You want to have an image to send me too, so save that. Whatever image you're working from, save that so you can send it to me. And I'll point out, there's no line on there. Unless you chose a drawing that had lines on it. But I swear, if you're going to choose a drawing, make sure it does not have lines on it. And I'll show you one maybe they have in here that does, like this one. Because there's no background shading, they drew a line right there. Otherwise, that shading on the face is so similar to the background shading, they'll get lost, you won't see them. Well, I want you to get away from that by shading the face with a slight tone. Then if it meets the background and there's no tone, it'll separate itself from that. It'll have a slight tone, okay? And like this one, there's a line there. It's not accurate. This is not total realism drawing here. Another way to get over that is by either darkening up or shading a semi-background tone, okay? You probably want to do that anyway to get rid of all the white. If white paper is on there and you have highlights on your face, the highlights will get lost with the white paper. They won't show up as much. It won't be as predominant, okay? So you really want to show a little bit of shading in the background too. But you want them to separate from themselves. The shading on the face and the shading in the background. You want them to be slightly different tones so that they will separate and you can draw it without a line. So maybe it's best to use a photograph rather than a drawing. So we'll look at that real quick. So none of these have a line on the face, on the border, or around the lips, or anything like that. The lips are a different shade than the face. The skin is different shades, so they should separate right away. And they're shading on the lips. They're not one tone. That's because the light is hitting the bottom lip a lot more than the top lip. Part of the top lip will be hit, but not all of it. So notice that in your model, that lips have different shading to them. They're not all the same shade. There's going to be highlights, there's going to be reflection marks on lips. There's going to be reflection marks on your forehead, cheeks, nose, chin, and lips. So look for those and add them in. You might have to erase out tone to get them in. So that's basically it. Go to your template, go to your model, check them out together, start mapping out in a gesture drawing very lightly so you can erase it out. Excuse me, where all the proportions are, how far the eyes are away from each other. There's an eye distance in between the eyes. There's an eye distance on the side of the heads before the eyes, where the eyes have space to the side of the head to meet the eye. There's no lines on the nose or the mouth or the side of the face, or even around the ears. That's all shading that meets other shades. So look for all that and notice it in whatever photo you're going to be using for a full face portrait, one looking directly at you. Or you're going to take a photo of yourself or someone else, that's fine. I would suggest using a single light source coming from one side or the other instead of straight on. It's like, don't take your picture of yourself, your photo, with the flash, because it's just going to light up your whole face and there'll be no shadow areas to shade. And it's going to be very difficult to get any shadow areas. So one side or the other, like this one, it's coming from the left side and the right side's a little darker. Same here with that one, that's a 3/4. This one's slightly from the left side, but not by a lot. So there's not a lot of stuff to shade in the middle. This one, a little bit from the left. So this side of the nose is a little darker. Okay, same with this, it's coming from this side, but it's very bright. So this skin is almost white as paper right there, which a little bright in my opinion. I would prefer something more like this, or like that first one we showed. This one showing light coming from the right side, very dark over here. It's kind of nice the way that works out. You could do it that way. You don't have to have it that dark. Coming from the right on this one, leaving this side a little darker, but it gives a lot of shape to the face when you do that. There's lots to shade. Lots of shade on the cheek too, and the sides of the mouth and around the chin. So basically half the face is going into a little darker area, but you do have light on the cheek here and then dark down here. So there's a lot of variations there too. Okay, so take an image, get an image to work from, find a template like I did. I showed you where that was in drawings. Okay, there's templates to work from in here, down here. And if you work from a template, you're going to have to shade it in, because a lot of these templates are not shaded very well. They're just showing you where the proportions and the levels are, where the eyes are set in the head, where the mouth and nose is, where the ear is, how high the top of the head goes. You want to make sure you have enough distance up here, because like I said, the eyes are basically in the middle of the head, so make sure you don't cut off the forehead like this. It's going to look odd. You really notice that from your image you're working from. You really want to notice that. All right, and then it's going to be a video to watch on this as well. So watch that. Between all this, I think you'll have a good start. And maybe you have to watch this video again, but it might be best to shade in a background, dark or a little lighter than your face, but something to get rid of some of that white paper. Okay? So we'll work on that. Make sure your midterm is in by Wednesday night at midnight. If you're having difficulty and you have a real problem you need to address, we'll work on it, and I'll work with you. Okay, we'll make some sort of an arrangement so you can get it in. But typically, I'd like to see it, on Wednesday, because that's giving you a whole week and a half to do this. All right, we'll talk with you later. Any questions? Email me.